Am I insane for rocking this loadout with 0 survivability in legendary missions? And do you think it fits my model where my favorite thing to do is respawn? Let me know below if you prefer to use the Strega, the St. Elmo's, or any other assault rifle like the Lexington in these types of loadouts. Let's see if we can keep count of how many clips I have of myself crawling on the ground. What did the medic say to this loadout? Even red tier enemies have more survivability than you. Ha, dag joke of the day. What is going on, my dag nasty dags? If you're new to the channel, welcome to d.a.g gaming, where my favorite thing to do is respawn. And today's loadout is going to put that model to the test because I'm going to be running all reds, the sacrifice, and no survivability at all. And the only thing that's going to keep me alive is running around behind my shield. And I'm going to be rocking the combo with the technician drone and microwave coils to give me constant crowd control, which will also give me a nice 15% amplified damage boost to pulse targets. On a side note, you might have noticed I haven't really put out videos this week. I've been a little bit busy, but a quick update for the week. If you couldn't tell yet, I did get a new mic and I finally pulled the trigger and live streamed on both YouTube and Twitch this past week. But I'm going to have to put live streaming on hold for now because the monitor that I normally play and stream on, the Samsung G7, had some lines on the bottom, so I had sent it in for warranty work. I did try to get the other monitors to work with my setup, but I couldn't do so. So for now, I'm just going to focus on learning more about live streaming to YouTube and Twitch. I was mostly live streaming on TikTok, but I'm going to also have to put that on hold until I get my new monitor back. And some good news, I did order a new camera because the one that I'm currently using is the GoPro 7 Hero, but as you can see, the picture quality of it is not the greatest, so I'm just planning on upgrading that so I can have a more crisp viewing experience for you guys. Let me know if you guys like to see my face on my videos for my builds and guides and whatnot, and if you have any tips, I will greatly appreciate any constructive criticism. Don't worry, I can take the punishment, so any advice is welcome. Alrighty, dags, getting back to the build video. If you haven't noticed yet, the whole goal of this build is to be in the unstoppable tier for the rogue momentum. On top of all the buffs that you are going to get for your weapons and your skills, when you are in the 5th tier of rogue momentum unstoppable, your skills are also going to become overcharged. And you can see me running around the map hiding behind my shield the whole time. And the reason why I have to stay behind the shield is if I'm running around without the shield and an enemy shoots at me, then my cheeks are going to get got. But if I'm in the unstoppable tier and my skills are overcharged, when the enemies are shooting at me and I'm behind my shield, I could go and freely shoot them without worrying about any of the damage from the enemies penetrating my shield, because the shield will not take any damage. And it will also prevent the elites from penetrating the shield. Like you could see when I'm standing in front of the 3 Chongas, they are doing no damage to me. Of course, outside of the stringers on their backpack that are coming at me. That is why I'm trying to shoot the backpacks first. So remember, be unstoppable, hide behind your shield. That way your cheeks won't be got. For this loadout, I'm rocking the strikers plus the Turmoil knee pads. And it's not going to be so much about what gun you use, but more so what the talent of that gun is. Additionally, you want to have as high amount of DPS as possible, and you want to have multiple amplified damage sources. Hence is why I like to run the Strega, because its talent does do amplified damage. But you can also run the St. Elmo's engine because it does have a higher mag and a faster rate of fire, meaning you can get more DPS downrange. And you can also be successful by running a high-end assault rifle like the Lexington. Just put on an amplified damage type of talent on it. Having amplified damage sources is really good for the turmoil because you're going to double dip a lot of those amplified damage sources. For example, I have 30% from the sacrifice chest piece, 15% from the pulse, and then the Strega also does have a stacking amplified damage as well. So think about it like this when you're using the turmoil knee pads. So this is going to be you shooting at the enemies when you have the turmoil knee pads on and a bunch of different amplified damage sources. So when you're shooting the enemy in front, they're going to take whatever the damage is divided by 2, because turmoil splits up the damage 50%. So the primary target that you're shooting might take 100 damage for sake of ease, but because the way that the turmoil talent bewildered works, the other 50% is going to double dip in a lot of the different attributes and amplified damage sources. So now that we know that the first target is going to take 100 damage, the secondary target that receives the other 50% is actually going to take even more damage now. Meaning that the secondary target might take 180, 200, maybe 250, just depending on how many different amplified damage sources you have. And the way that the Strega's talent works with its stack and amplified damage, you're able to do some ridiculous damage numbers. So let's take a quick look at the shooting range to see what what I'm talking about. So here's a quick reference with the St. Elmo's. We're critting for like 700,000, but the secondary damage from Turmoil is going to like 1.3 million. Now let's take a look at the Strega and how it works with its talents with the stack and amplified damage. When I shoot enemies that have stacks from the Strega, we're critting for like a little bit over 1 million. But you can see that the secondary damage from the Bewildered talent on the Turmoils is going up to like 3 million, which is insane. That meaning that one bullet from the Strega, we're doing 4 million damage combined with both the primary and secondary damage numbers. The only thing that's striking about this build is how fast you respawn. Now that you've seen how this build performs in the shooting range, where do I think this build excels at? I do run this build for legendary missions because I do play pretty wild and crazy and fast. The reason why I don't have any survivability on this loadout is that when I'm playing legendary missions, there is a mechanic in place in Division 2 that you cannot get one shot. It does not matter how much damage you take, you're going to get left with a little sliver of health, unless if you are in a weakened state, then you will just outright get respawned. And after playing a bunch of legendary missions, I really noticed that when I do get shot, I'm either just going to keep going or I'm going to pop a med kit. There really isn't any in between. With that being said, I'm not saying that you do not need any survivability. It's just me personally that I do not have any when I play, pretty much leaving whatever survivability I might have in my build being useless or not being utilized to its full potential. So that is why I went for straight damage. But if you do want survivability on this specific loadout, you can change the sacrifice to a palisade steelwork to have that 10% armor on kill, which will definitely be very beneficial if you're playing solo. But if you're playing in a group, that specific encounter might be already over before you even pop your armor kit or get to benefit from the armor on kill. This loadout also really shines in open world content on heroic or challenging. You can play solo or with other agents if you like and still do very well with this loadout. The sheer amount of DPS that you're able to dish out is just going to eliminate all the ads in the map. And using the Strega with this loadout definitely takes the Turmoil kneepad to a new level with all the amplified damage that you're going to double dip with. And for the most part, your armor bar is only a suggestion at this point, even though this build survivability is equivalent to a Division 1 agent, pretty much non-existent. Being unstoppable and having your shield overcharged is going to definitely be more than enough survivability to keep you alive. And I would definitely highly recommend taking this loadout to a legendary mission with a group. Just keep in mind you will definitely be a paper thin glass cannon. Alrighty, d.a.g, now for the long-awaited build breakdown. Starting off with the specialization, I went with the sharpshooter to give me access to the technician drone to get that comboed up with the microwave coils. For the core attributes, I went with all red. For the primary, I'm using Strega with the damage to target out of cover, and it comes with the talent on nerf, which gives you a stack and amplified damage buff. It stacks up to 5 times, and each of those give you 15% amplified damage for a total of 75% amplified damage, which will also double dip with the Turmoil kneepads. That's why I can get some crazy damage numbers with the Strega. I do also use the St. Elmo's engine, and I also have it with damage to target out of cover. This is definitely the better AR to use because it does have a larger magazine size and a faster rate of fire. The Turmoil kneepads won't do as much damage with the St. Elmo's because you don't have any more amplified damage sources, so just keep that in mind when you're choosing which assault rifle you want to use. For the secondary, you want to have an ACS. I do have the Rock and Roll. You're going to use this to build up your striker stacks really quick, and I also have it with damage to target out of cover. For the gear set, you want to prioritize having critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Put on as much critical hit chance as you would like, but you want to aim for at least 50. And it does not matter which gear piece has critical hit chance or critical hit damage, just hit those numbers. And for the mask, the backpack, the gloves, and the holster, I have 4 pieces of the striker gear set. I went with the backpack because you unlock the talent risk management, which increases your striker stacks from 0.65 to 0.9. For the kneepads, I have the named Chaska Turmoils, which comes with the talent Bewildered, and these are going to be required if you want this loadout to work the way I presented it. And like I said before, the cool thing about the Bewildered talent is that it does double dip with a lot of the amplified damage sources, and also damage to target out of cover double dips with the Turmoils. For the chest piece, I went with the named item, the Sacrifice, because it does give you 30% amplified damage versus the 25% amplified damage of the normal glass cannon. So in reality, the secondary target of the Bewildered talent is going to take additional to 5% amplified damage. But you could change out this chest piece for like a Fenris or a Grupo and only get the 25% amplified damage, and also reducing the incoming amplified damage from 60% to 50%. Now let's take to the season's modifier Rogue Momentum. If you look at the unstoppable tier and look at the last sentence of that paragraph, it does say skill overcharged. And this means it does not matter how many skill tiers you have, because once you become unstoppable and you overcharge your skills are going to instantly benefit from whatever the overcharged buffs are, and some skills even come with additional effects. And on a side note, you also want to take out blacklisted marked enemies, because when you do, you get a 15-second buff that gives you 10% weapon handling and 10% critical hit chance. So keep them in mind when you are adding critical hit chance to your loadout. For the active modifier, you can put whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. And for the passive modifiers, you want to have Microwave Coils, which combos really well with the Technician drone, because the drone is going to constantly pulse, you're going to constantly apply burn to enemies, which is a really good crowd control. I also have Reaper Scan to give me more access to the Blacklisted Mark buff. And finally, I have Critical Momentum to help me build up my momentum quicker when the encounter starts. But you can switch this out to a different passive modifier that gives you some sustainability. For the skills, I'm using the Crusader Shield and the Technician drone, and because we're going to be constantly in the unstoppable tier of Rogue Momentum, both these skills are going to be constantly overcharged, and when they're overcharged, they're going to benefit from all those awesome buffs. And additionally, the shield is going to become invulnerable, and the Technician drone is going to apply Weakness Exploit, which is going to give you and your teammates 15% amplified damage to pulse targets. And this amplified damage applies to all sources, even the burn from Microwave Coils, and it's also going to get double dipped by the Bewilder talent from the Turmoil kneepads. And here are the stats for the Strega and the Stain Ammo's engine. And keep in mind, we're going to get an additional 10% critical hit chance once we do take out a blacklisted marked enemy for 15 seconds. And always remember to aim for the head so you could benefit from the headshot damage as well. Alrighty, Dags, let me know what you guys think about this loadout and if I'm crazy for playing like this. And let us know what AR you would prefer, the Strega, the St. Elmo's, or another one like the Lexington. If you enjoyed the video and enjoyed seeing my face, give this video a nice like. And if you're subscribed to my channel, thank you for subscribing. And if you're not yet subscribed, please take a second to subscribe. That way you can stay up to date to all my upcoming videos. And I want to say thank you to all of you and the community for supporting my small channel. You guys are awesome. Keep melting the agents, and just remember, my respawn count is more entertaining than your gameplay. Bro, I only shot him and killed the whole group.